Good morning or afternoon. Thanks for viewing our video today. We'll be looking at the sports information tools offered by the association and how they can be used to not only meet some of the basic requirements, but at the same time help promote your school's teams to the community and the media. TSSAA wants schools to take a more proactive role in the publicity of their programs, both athletically and academically. The athletic director, the AD, the coaches at your school, they need assistance from a few dedicated individuals to help maximize the opportunities to publish and share information to the public. Sports publicity has the ability to help tell the stories of the students at your school, faculty, coaches, and influence public opinion. And make no mistake, regularly communicating information helps to establish healthy relationships with the journalists that cover your teams. It's all very important. We'll frequently be referring to a role in the TSSAA Portal called Sports Information Director, or SID for short. This person is an assistant to the athletic director with limited portal access that assists with public-facing information. That is schedules, scores, rosters, other things like that. The TSSAA Portal is the hub for these efforts, and it's very easy for your school's sports information team to get started. Now, the people who have access to do the things we'll be discussing in a moment are the ones that are assigned roles on the coaches and staff page. This is a screen that athletic directors are very familiar with. ADs, assistant ADs, athletic secretaries, and sports information directors are able to see and edit the information for all the sports. Coaches, on the other hand, head coaches and assistant coaches, they can only see their assigned sport. A school can have multiple SIDs and multiple assistant ADs. So as athletic directors, when you're in here on the coaches and staff page, just remember that assistant athletic directors have the same access as the school's athletic director. That's full admin access. Sports information directors, on the other hand, and you can see that here from this list right here, that option right there, they only have access to sports schedules, the roster details, and these sports information specific features. But this screen here, this is where the athletic directors will assign these roles, and that's what gives you access. Once your coaches and your SIDs are assigned here, they'll be granted access, and their names and contact information will appear on the school's public directory page on TSSAA.org. And so you'll see names pop up here under this school administration section. If you're a coach or an SID watching this and your name doesn't appear on this directory page for your school, then you won't have access to any of this until the AD assigns you. So get your AD on that and get signed in, and we'll continue from there. The first things we'll look at are sport rosters. So rosters, in the strictest sense of the word, are eligibility rosters. That's the way the TSSAA sees it. Athletic directors complete eligibility reports, and then they or the coach will add those eligible students to the sport roster. Those things have to be done prior to the start of each season, or a date known as the date of first contest. It's on the calendar, and that's all according to the TSSAA handbook. Those things are things that an SID would not be concerned with. You can't get to that. It's not part of what you're doing. As an SID, for the purposes of our conversation today, we're concerned with the information on the roster details page. And you can see those buttons here for each sport. This screen is where information that's not required for eligibility purposes goes. So this is all those juicy details that most everyone would consider to be part of a proper roster. So you've got jersey numbers and all this stuff. So to access this page, and we'll go back, you'll click on sports from the main menu and then click rosters and schedules. So I'm an SID, so I can see all of the sports at the school. If you're a coach, you can only see your sport. So find the sport and click roster details. So what do we need to do here? Now, there's some instructions shown here for folks that are looking at this form for the first time, but we're going to skip all that for now. The first thing we need to do is we need to mark the students that are not playing on the varsity squad. And you can see here we've got a few already marked. So you'll check these boxes here, and this means JV only, and then we'll click Save. Now you'll want to save this page frequently so you don't get automatically signed out and lose your work. That can happen in about 15 or 20 minutes. So do a few things and click Save. So let's look at the next step here. The first two columns are fields for light jersey numbers and dark jersey numbers. Sometimes they'll be the same, but sometimes they can be different. So we give you both options there. The next field is for first name. The name shown here by default is what the AD entered for the student initially. Okay? You can change this. Let's say the player goes by a different name from their given name. So you can change that here, but you can't change the last name. So if there's any corrections here that need to be made, last name, class, these things, go to the school AD. They can correct these things in their portal account. Okay? So the next field would choose the player's primary position or offensive position. You know, if you got football playing both ways, we only have one position option at the present time. And then the other two fields, height and weight, those are optional, but you know, again, remember this is for the public, and most people expect a proper roster to have you know, at least position and height listed. So you'll fill those in, do a handful at a time, and click Save. Now you can come back to this page at any time during the season if you need to correct a jersey number, typo or something like that. You can come in here and you can update this at any time, and that way it stays current, and so the information going out is always up to date. So the information here is published on TSSAAsports.com. We'll look at that a little bit later. It's also used in the championship programs that are printed in the postseason. That's what a lot of these instructions are for. But you know, if you do this ahead of time, you don't have to worry about it at that point. The more participation we have on things like this, the more things the state office can provide, like the football roster schedule handouts that we send out during the regular season. Those people find those very useful, and again, we'll look at what the public sees on TSSAAsports.com and how you can link to that here a little later on. Next, let's go back to our rosters and schedules page and look at the process for schedules and scores. So for this, we're going to click the schedule button. So like rosters, regular season schedules, those are required to be submitted prior to the start of the season, that date of first contest. That's when those are required to be in. And in the past, the AD, the coach, has done this, but this is certainly something that an SID can handle. Okay? Now the way schedules in the portal work is when the opponent for a contest is linked to another member school, that contest is going to show up on both teams' schedules. So because of this, when you look at your season schedule for the first time for a sport, there may already be dates listed there. Okay, and that's because those dates were submitted by the school that you're playing. So you can edit those games, those contests, but you can't delete them. So you can only delete contests that your own school entered. Now what does that mean? Now it means that if there's a game listed that shouldn't be, you need to contact the other school. Email the AD, email the coach, for that other school and ask them to double check their schedule, to double check what they have, and that you don't think that game belongs on there, and ask them to remove it. So adding and editing contests are very similar. So when you're starting out, you'll click this add events button here at the top. We'll start here with the game date. That's pretty self-explanatory. The game time is optional, so just be sure to at least select a date. The portal doesn't track time zone information, so always use that local time to the host site. Everywhere that we show schedules, there'll always be a note at the bottom that says all times local to the host site. Now for baseball, for softball, volleyball, the portal allows double headers. It can be easier to have some duplicated events in those sports, but it is necessary from time to time to have more than one contest per opponent per date. So the double headers are, it won't prevent you from adding a double header in baseball, softball, and volleyball. So right below that, there's currently two event type options here. We've got single opponent and tournament/meet. So when selecting a single opponent, you'll be asked for the name of a school. As an example, I'm going to type in Cookeville. Let's say I just type in a few letters. It searches the TSSAA database and gives you matches for that. If the opponent is a TSSAA school, don't skip through this part until you see this green link icon right here. So if it's an out-of-state school, let's say Liberty Tech in Georgia, you can do something like that, and that's fine. But if it's an in-state school and they are a member, then you want to make sure to select the member school so that you get that green link icon. So and that's what makes it show up on your opponent's schedule, and vice versa. Now, for events where there's multiple schools participating or you don't know who you're playing yet, select tournament/meet. So this is a little different. It asks you for the name and the location of the event. Now this can be as simple as a three-way meet at Nolensville High School. A lot of times this will be a tournament. It might be some kind of invitational, at Cloudland High School maybe. Okay, so this is a one-line event for a multi-team, multi-opponent date. We'll talk about this again here in a second. But home, away, neutral, you got that option here, and you need to mark whether it's a district or region contest. You also have a notes field. That notes field at the bottom, that's for any additional information, but just keep in mind that this is shared with your opponent. So whatever I type into my note field is also going to be seen on Cloudland's schedule. If it's senior day, if it's homecoming for the host, include the school name in the note, or if you do see that on your schedule, if it says that it's homecoming, for whoever is the home team there, then that's okay. That's the other school's information too. Now, for these tournaments, let's say you're playing in a Thanksgiving or Christmas tournament or something, and when you put the schedule in, you don't know who you'll be playing. So you can first submit it as a tournament/meet with the tournament name, tournament location, and then edit it. You come back and edit and change it back to single opponent when you know who you're playing. Does that make sense? One thing that will happen when you put in a date for, I'm on boys basketball, when I click add game, it's going to ask me if I wanted to add an event for the girls team on the same date. And you just have to click that button. That'll let you add two events at the same time. So editing again, edit. So right here you can see that we've changed this to a Grizzly Thanksgiving Classic. We've put that in the note, and our single opponent is Cocke County High School. We've got our link. This thing looks really good. Now, when we're on the edit screen, we get 2 extra boxes. So you'll see that there, our score and their score. So this is your score, and that's the opponent's score. If you've got overtime, extra innings, baseball, softball, you can put this down here in this notes field, OT, 2 overtimes, something like that. So you can apply changes there and save that to your schedule. All right, and that'll update here. Now, the information that is submitted under roster details and also under schedule, those are sent nightly to Max Preps. So we're asking all the schools starting this year to make sure and post their stats to Max Preps after every game. There's some information on the website on TSSAA.org. If you go under coaches, there's some information there on how to get started. But the goal is to have a comprehensive statewide stat leaderboards for as many of the sports as possible. And of course, we'll be linking to that on the TSSAA website. Of course, you can find it at maxpreps.com. But just make sure that you go and read more about that if you're not already using Max Preps. That's on TSSAA.org under the coaches link. Encourage those schools around you in your district, in your region, to start sending their stats into Max Preps too, and we'll try to get as many people on board with that as possible. Next, let's look at the media distribution list feature. So under the sports menu, click media list. All right, now this area allows you to maintain an email distribution list for each sport. So the TSSAA has an email list, and now each school can have one too. So the individuals and media outlets that you list here will receive an automatic email when you change a date on your schedule or enter a score. Okay? So if we were over on our schedule working, we added a score. If we had people on our list right here, they would get an email that notifies them of that change. So this is a very helpful way to keep multiple contacts up to date on your teams without a lot of hassle. And this will tie into another thing we'll talk about in a second. But this is very easy to manipulate. Of course, what I had it on first, you've got an all sports list. So anybody that you place on this list, they'll get updates for all the sports. But if I go over to boys basketball, select a specific sport, you'll see the people who are getting updates for that sport. And so the list will also include the ones you have on the all sports list. So you can see at a glance who's getting what. Okay? If you add somebody on the all sports list, then you have to remove them from the all sports list. If they don't have a red X, then that means that it's either on the all sports list or it's been added by the state office. All right? So that's where you find your little red X's. Now, to add a new contact, I should say, all it takes, you just add just type in their name and their email address and click add. Harry Houdini. Just like that, and they'll go on the list there, and so they'll start receiving updates on those boys basketball schedule changes and scores that you post. And then we can, if Harry Houdini doesn't want to get those anymore, we'll just hit that X. So how do you get email addresses to put on this list? The best way to go about this is to contact your local reporters first. Okay, and ask them if they want to receive updates from your school or your team. Okay, so you don't want to spam people with updates that they don't want, and that, if we have a lot of that kind of stuff, that's going to end up hurting everybody. We don't want the stuff to go to people's spam folders and all that kind of stuff. So whenever a reporter expresses interest in following your team, when they request updates, this is a perfect way to keep them in the loop. You just put them on here, put them, if it's a local person, they want all the updates, you can put them on the all sports list. There's a list of registered media outlets on TSSAA.org, and that could help you get an idea of who you might contact first. Now, this also ties into the next feature. The next thing we'll look at is the news publisher. Okay, so under sports, click news publisher. Now, what this does, I'll give you a quick preview. This tool gives you the ability to prepare a professional quality team notes packages and distribute those easily to your media list, the list we just looked at. You can take it, you can link it on your website, you can print it out for use at the games, all kinds of things. The idea here, and I'll show you an example. The idea here is that this is a one-page sheet with your updated schedule, roster with season averages, and a short list of interesting notes about your team and your school. So you can see it's all on one page, and something like this, this is a great advertisement for your school, your team, and your community. We got your team logo on there. It's in your school colors. This doesn't replace putting stats on max preps. We still want everybody to do that. This just enhances that kind of stuff and takes this to the next level. All right. So how's this generated? Let's go back to the publisher screen. So the first thing you'll need to do is select a sport and click View here. So what we've got is a series of tabs. Right now we've got 4, 2 for team notes and school notes. These are split up on the final output, but here in this publisher tool, they both work the same way. Now, you'll more or less start out with a blank box. For those of you getting started for the first time, there'll be like a little prompt here to kind of help you get started the first time around. But you click Add Note to add notes. You got the X here to delete notes, and you can move them around with our little arrow button here. All right, so you can move things around that way, remove notes like that, and so the school note thing works the same way. All right, so now we've got some reminders here at the bottom of the page that are always neat to refer to, but just remember that notes should be 1 or 2 sentences, really at the most 2 sentences. Think in terms of a tweet, or a little bit of trivia. Note is short. If you can't make something short, consider splitting it into multiple notes. I've made up some stats for this Jellicoe team here and wrote some notes on those fake stats, so that'll kind of give you some ideas there. It's nothing complicated, it's nothing difficult. You just want to have a list of noteworthy items for people in the community and the media to pick up on. So look for unique facts about your players and your team, and then on the list here, keep the most current or notable facts first. So as you add this, you'll probably have 5 or 6 good notes after each game, and you just keep those newer ones at the top of the list. Right here, we want to stick to the facts. This isn't a place here for opinion or exaggeration. There's no need to do that. Just leave all that stuff to the reporters and the fans. This is a place for facts and information that you want to get out. Update this notes package after each game. So after a game, you'll have a score. The score will be updated. your new season totals will be put in over here, and we'll get to that in a second. And then your notes get updated. So, if you're talking about a streak, you'll update the number on that. If you've got your head coach's career coaching record on here, you'll update that after each game. And so, within 24 hours after each game, you'll have a new set of notes that can go out to the media so they can start prepping and getting news and stories out on your team prior to the next game. Okay? So we've looked at the team notes. The school notes, of course, it works exactly the same, but team notes, sports-specific notes about the team, players, coaches, former coaches, those things. School notes, these are going to be things like upcoming community events, awards that your school, your faculty, students have won, attendance trends. These are going to be mascot facts, special things about your school, about the town. There's plenty of room for creativity here. I've written a fake note here about about the principal. There's always going to be some stories around your school that are interesting. So school notes, this is the spot to write about things that don't regularly get a lot of attention. So again, 1 or 2 sentences, keep it pithy, and keep it interesting. So as you write, and we've seen this here, you'll see this Save Changes button appear. So you want to click that often, save your work, just like on the roster details page. You can be signed out of the portal after 15 or 20 minutes, so if you let it sit there. So make sure you're saving frequently. Saving doesn't make it public. Okay, we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. I'll go ahead and save that. All right, save successfully. Don't forget to publish when you have completed all your updates. That's good. Let's go back briefly right here and let's talk about this Players tab, this third tab, Players tab. This screen shows the roster from the roster details page. We can click over here. If you forgot what it looked like, this is your roster details page. So these are your jersey numbers and all of your player information. Okay? So that's where this information comes from, and we give you a button there to get over to that quick. But we've also here got columns for season totals in several different stat categories. And this will obviously vary by sport. If you click on here and there's no player shown, that means that roster details page needs attention. Got to have some jersey numbers in there, mark those JV players, all those things we covered earlier. When you make changes to the roster details, come back here, make sure you refresh the page so you'll see the changes that you made to a jersey number or whatever. You'll see that it's sorted here by jersey number. The important thing to remember here is that these are season totals, okay? So you provide the games played, that's the GP, games started is also a figure here, but you provide the games played and the season totals, and the publisher is going to calculate the averages for you, okay? So if you're good with a spreadsheet, you know your stat program well, all that kind of stuff, you can paste these figures in from a spreadsheet. This does kind of work like Excel. If you've got the columns arranged and know how to do all that, you can paste into here. But as always, when you do make an update, make sure to save your changes frequently. All right. So going back, saving changes doesn't make it public. So you can save as often as you like, but until you publish, your changes aren't seen by the public. So see here, I've got that change I made, and it's telling me I either need to save my change or I need to discard it. I'll just click discard for now. What it'll do, it'll take me back to whatever my last version was. And so right here, it tells us when I last saved it, and it tells us when I last published, okay? So here's this Publish Now button, and all of this is under the Publish Export tab. At first, the first time you go through this, once you save, the only thing you'll see here is the Publish Now button and the preview buttons, okay? So the preview buttons are going to show you what your notes package looks like after the last save, okay? So this isn't public, this is your work copy, okay? So that's preview. So you see there, note 1, that's what I just edited, okay? Close that up. Now until I click publish now, my note 1 isn't going to be live. The two boxes below our preview buttons are going to be links to two places really. So you've got a link here for the PDF version of your published notes package, and you've got a link to an HTML or a web page version, okay? I think you'll probably always want to use that PDF version unless you've got something you're trying to do special, but these links won't change during the school year. So if you link to this link in your web page or an email newsletter or in social media, this will always be your latest published version of your notes, okay? Now below that, we've got a red button here. This lets you download a copy of your last published notes to your computer, okay? So if I click that, that's gonna give me my last published version, which looks different than my last saved version, remember, okay? And we'll try to keep this date up here at the top that shows the last time it was updated, all right? So there's a download option there if you want something to download and keep in the archive or whatever, okay? Now the last button, that's a neat button. The email to distribution list button will do exactly what it says. That will send a link to the latest published PDF to those email addresses that you've listed over on your media list, okay? So that'll go to that list and you'll get a copy of it. As the person that is sending it, you'll get kind of a courtesy copy just as confirmation that it did go out, okay? We send this email as a BCC, so you're not going to see in that email you get, you're not going to see that list of email addresses. That's kind of kept hidden, so the whole list doesn't see everybody else on the list. But when you get it, you're very sure that it did go out to everybody else. One other thing about our logo, we do use the school logo here. If this doesn't look right, it's low quality, it needs to be updated, or it's just not in there, get with your athletic director. Your AD can upload the school logo over here on the directory information page under school, and that they can upload the logo there. So with this news publisher, with these game notes, the media folks, home and away, are going to really appreciate this. And of course, we in the state office, we've got some other ideas on how this information can be put to other additional uses if the participation level is good, and we hope that it is. The plan currently is to have a list of recently updated notes packages on TSSAAsports.com. Okay, so when you go to the sport page, there'll be some information there on the most recently updated notes. Okay, and because we want to, if you all are putting the work in on this, we certainly want to draw attention to it and help you get it out. Okay. Now, before we wrap things up, let's go back to something that we mentioned earlier. How do you find your rosters and your schedules on the TSSAA website? Those will be linked here on TSSAAsports.com. So if you go here on sports, you select your sport, and up at the top on this red bar, you'll see rosters and schedules. All right. So we'll click on rosters. We'll pick our school. Okay. And so here's the roster here for Jellicoe High. All right, looks really nice. Position, class height, weight. We got our coaches listed at the bottom. All right, everything looks good. This will print well. You know, you can copy and paste it. You can take your link up here. You can copy that. You can link to it in an email newsletter, link to it on your school's website. You can do all those things, and the schedules work exactly the same way. So we can pull up Jellicoe here, and there's the Jellicoe schedule. And you know, we've got our link just the same way up here. We can link that. We've got a quick button over here that'll take us back to our roster. All right, this should print really well and look good when you link to it from your school webpage. So it seems like we've covered a lot of things here: rosters, schedules, scores, media distribution lists, this news publisher. It's all really coming together here, and everything's in your hands now. So let's rally the troops here and use these tools to tell the world what's going on with your team, and really focus attention on all the good things that are happening there at your school. So feel free to contact us here at the state office. Our emails are on the staff listing page at TSSAA.org. Matthew Gillespie, Shawnee Spiker, myself, Bradley Lambert. We're more than happy to help you with any questions, anything that we can do to help you get started using these tools. And you know, we hope to hear from you soon, and looking forward to seeing all your great work. So thanks so much for joining us today, and have a good evening.